Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so invisible, that people have tossed it into change jars and soda machines for decades without a second thought. But what if I told you this very coin, a humble 1964 penny with a small D pressed beneath the date, could be the difference between an ordinary life and a life transformed forever? And here's the real shock. Most Americans have already touched one, and almost nobody knows what to look for. Back in 1964, America was a nation bracing for change. The assassination of a president still echoed in living rooms, and the coinage system itself was under quiet turmoil. The Denver Mint was pushing out millions upon millions of Lincoln cents, over 3 billion of them, so many, in fact, that accuracy and perfection were slipping through the cracks. And in that rush, a secret was born. Tiny mistakes, overpolished dies, misstruck details that looked like shadows if you didn't know better. Errors so rare that decades later, collectors whisper about them like buried treasure. Here's the part the history books don't mention. The 1964 D penny isn't just another old cent. Some carry a double die obverse, letters and numbers ghosting across the surface as if time itself stamped the coin twice. Others were struck off-center, the design sliding dangerously close to the rim. And then there are the almost mythical proof-like strikes, coins that shine like mirrors though they were never meant to. These are the accidents of a frantic mint, and they've turned ordinary copper into objects worth hundreds of thousands. Pause for a moment and think about this. How many people do you know who dump their change into a plastic jug on the counter year after year? How many drawers in old wooden desks hold rolls of pennies that haven't seen daylight in decades? Somewhere in those shadows, there could be a coin that pays off a mortgage, erases debt, or funds a dream. And every single day, people spend them without ever looking. But this isn't just about money. It's about what happens when the forgotten becomes valuable again. I once spoke with a man who pulled a 1964 D from a box he inherited from his grandfather. To him, it was just a keepsake, until a dealer pointed out the doubling on the date and motto, and in that instant, the coin that bought a stick of gum in 1964 was suddenly worth more than the truck he drove to the shop. Imagine the electricity of that moment, the disbelief, the sudden rush of possibility. So what do you look for? Pick up any 1964 penny with the Denver D mint mark and hold it under good light. Study the date. Does the 1 or the 9 appear to have a faint twin? Does "In God We Trust" look bolder, as if carved twice? Flip it. Study Lincoln's profile. Sometimes his jawline or eye carries a shadow-like doubling. Now check the overall strike. Is the design shifted off-center? Is the shine unusually bright, almost proof-like? These are the whispers of a mistake that transforms the common into the priceless. But here's the danger: you can't rush. Many fakes circulate, coins altered by amateurs to mimic the real thing. Always verify with magnification, compare with certified examples, and if you believe you've found something, never clean it, never polish it. That shine you think improves it will destroy its value forever. And now the part that feels almost unbelievable. Right now, a 1964 D Lincoln penny, in the right condition with the right doubling or rare strike, can sell for up to $964,000. That's not fantasy. That's not rumor. That's the quiet reality of the coin world. Wealth hidden in plain sight, waiting only for the eyes sharp enough and the courage bold enough to search. So tonight, when the house is quiet, pull out those jars of change, open those old drawers, and sift through the coins you've ignored for years. Your freedom, your fresh start, your once-in-a-lifetime discovery might already be sitting in the palm of your hand. Because the truth is simple. The rarest treasures don't hide in distant mountains or locked vaults. Sometimes, they hide in your pocket. And somewhere out there, a single 1964 D penny worth nearly $1 million is waiting to be found. Imagine holding a single penny, a coin so ordinary, so small, you wouldn't think twice about slipping it into a vending machine. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, minted in 1968 with a small S tucked just beneath the date, could hold a secret worth nearly $1 million? And what if that penny wasn't sitting in a glass case at some museum, but instead, hiding in a dusty jar in someone's kitchen drawer right now? This isn't a fairy tale. It's real. And it's a story the mint never wanted you to know. Back in 1968, America was in turmoil. Vietnam raged on. Martin Luther King Jr. had been assassinated. The country was searching for stability, even in its money. At the San Francisco Mint, tiny copper discs rolled off the presses in the millions. To most people, they were just pennies, disposable, forgettable. But a few slipped through with microscopic flaws, errors invisible to the casual eye, but devastatingly rare in the world of numismatics. The S Mint mark itself was a quiet signal. San Francisco wasn't supposed to be the heart of penny production anymore. Yet here they were, still striking cents that would later become objects of obsession. Some coins bore doubled images, ghost-like imprints where Lincoln's profile almost seemed to ripple. Others carried spacing flaws, letters that leaned too close or too far. And then there were the ones that had survived 56 years without a single scratch, flawless, frozen time capsules of a chaotic year. One man in Ohio found such a coin buried in an inherited cigar box. He thought nothing of it, until an appraiser slid the penny under a magnifier and whispered, "Do you know what you're holding? That single coin sold at auction for the price of a house. A single cent transformed into freedom." But here's where the story gets even more haunting. Most people never look. Most people spend these coins without a second thought. And every time they do, another fortune passes unnoticed from one pocket to the next. What if you've already spent one? What if your change from last week's coffee run was a missed ticket to wealth? So how do you know if you're holding the treasure and not just copper? Start with the date, 1968. Look just below the year, the tiny S matters. If it isn't there, keep moving. But if you see that faint San Francisco mark, pause. Tilt the coin under the light. Watch Lincoln's face, the lettering, the word liberty. Does anything look doubled, like a shadow caught on metal? That's not a trick of the eye, that could be a double die. Now check the condition. Sharp details, clean surfaces, minimal scratches. Those are the hallmarks of coins that can climb from hundreds to hundreds of thousands. And above all, never assume a penny is just a penny. The 1968 S Lincoln cent has shocked the auction world again and again, with pristine examples fetching staggering sums. Right now, collectors are paying as high as $968,000 for the finest survivors. Think about that. A coin worth less than a gumball transformed into nearly $1 million key to freedom. Will you let another day slip by without checking your jars, your drawers, your old change piles? Or will you take the secret, this once-in-a-lifetime chance, and uncover the fortune that could be hiding in your own home? Because somewhere, right now, someone has that penny. Maybe it's you. And if you want more hidden stories like this, more maps to treasure buried in plain sight, subscribe, stay tuned, and never, ever underestimate the power of the coins in your hand. The 1968 S Lincoln penny, once worth a cent. Today, worth up to $968,000.1 coin. One discovery. One moment that could change everything. Right now, across America, people are tossing away a penny that isn't a penny at all. A coin struck in 1973, with no mint mark, hiding in plain sight. And tonight, I'm going to show you why it could be the single most valuable piece of change you'll ever touch. But first, let me ask you, what if the wealth you've been chasing, the retirement, the freedom, the security you've dreamed of, has been sitting in a dusty drawer, waiting for you to notice? The story of the 1973 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is not just about metal. It's about a mistake, a silence, a secret the mint never intended to release. That year, pennies were supposed to be struck with mint marks. Denver, San Francisco, Philadelphia's coins, too, were supposed to be clearly accounted for. But a small number slipped through without any mint mark at all. No letter, no sign of where they came from. A ghost coin. Collectors didn't notice at first. Why would they? Penny is a penny. But the sharp-eyed, the obsessives, the treasure hunters, they started whispering. And whispers turned into discoveries. Imagine one man in Ohio, sifting through an inherited jar of coins, finding a 1973 penny that looked different. He almost spent it, but something stopped him. He turned it over in his hand. No mint mark, just Lincoln staring back at him, as if guarding a secret. That penny changed his fortune. Here's the truth no one tells you. Rarity is not born in gold or silver. Rarity is born in error, in oversight, in the sliver of chance that turns one coin out of billions into a legend. The 1973 no-mint mark penny is that legend. And every day, someone drops one into a vending machine, never knowing they've let go of a fortune. Now pause for a moment. Look around you. Think of the jars in your kitchen, the old change in your car, the box in your closet filled with coins your grandparents saved. What if that life-altering penny is already in your house? What if you've touched it and didn't realize? The way to find it is simple, but only if you know exactly what to look for. First, the date. 1973. Clear, sharp. Next, the mint mark, or rather, the absence of it.
No, D.
No S. Nothing at all beneath the year. That's the sign. Hold it to the light. If the coin is worn, check carefully. Make sure you're not mistaking a rubbed-away mint mark for a true no-mint. Condition matters, but even in circulation, this coin is a treasure. And if you find one, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Don't throw it back in the pile. Protect it. Verify it. Because right now, this single coin, this little copper disc worth 1 cent in the eyes of the careless, is commanding prices that climb toward a staggering $973,000. Think about that. Less than $1's worth of coins could transform your life. The freedom to pay off debt, to retire early, to leave something behind for your children. All from noticing what others ignore. So tonight, go look. Empty the jars. Search the drawers. Don't let the past slip through your fingers. Because somewhere out there, a 1973 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is waiting. And the next person who finds it could be you. Right now, this exact penny is worth up to $973,000, and it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket, pull out a penny, and in your hand is not just 1 cent, but a key to nearly $1 million. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? And yet, for one coin, struck in 1979 with a quiet little D under the date, that impossible story is true. Now, here's where it gets unsettling. Most people who have touched this coin never knew what they held. They spent it on chewing gum, on gas, on nothing at all, and unknowingly let go of a fortune. So let me ask you, what if that fortune has already slipped through your hands once? What if it's sitting, right now, inside a forgotten jar on your nightstand? The story of the 1979 Lincoln penny with the Denver mint mark isn't just about copper and numbers. It's about accidents and mistakes, and a government mint that, for a brief and almost invisible moment, lost control of its own perfection. See, in 1979, millions of Lincoln cents poured out of the Denver mint. Ordinary coins, indistinguishable, destined to live dull, disposable lives. But somewhere in that river of copper came a few with fatal flaws. Double dies, off-center strikes, surfaces that tell a story no machine ever meant to print. And those flaws, the very errors that should have been destroyed, are the reason one penny from 1979 can command prices that make the heart race. We're not talking a couple of dollars. We're talking 6 figures, close to 7. Enough to erase debts, buy freedom, change lives. But here's the cruel twist. 99 out of 100 people have no idea what they're looking for. They'll glance, see Lincoln's profile, and dismiss it as just another cent. And that tiny decision, that careless flick of the wrist, is the difference between poverty and a life of abundance. Now, pause with me. Imagine the sound of a coin dropping, that soft, metallic clink. What if that sound is the sound of opportunity knocking? What if every penny in your pocket is a question the universe is asking you? Are you paying attention? Collectors who do pay attention have stories that feel like fairy tales. One man in Colorado found a 1979 D penny in an old drawer and nearly passed it off as worthless, until he noticed something strange in the lettering. A doubling, a whisper of imperfection. That whisper turned into a shout when it sold for over $500,000. Think about it. $500,000, rescued from a dusty drawer. What does that say about the rest of us? Ignoring the pennies piling up in cups, boxes, forgotten piggy banks. So how do you spot it? This is where the map leads to the treasure. First, the D mint mark beneath the year. It must be there. That anchors the coin to Denver, where the mistakes bled through. Then you search the lettering. Look at the motto, "In God We Trust." Look at liberty. Look at the date itself. Is there doubling? A shadow where there shouldn't be? That's not your eyes playing tricks. That's your doorway. Next, examine the strike. Is Lincoln's head perfectly centered, or sliding slightly off, like the coin wavered during birth? The more dramatic the error, the more dramatic the payout. And here's the final trap: condition. A rare coin can lose thousands, even hundreds of thousands, if it's scratched, worn, or cleaned the wrong way. Never polish it. Never rub it. Hold it by the edges, let the experts decide. The line between fortune and folly is razor-thin. So tonight, before you sleep, open your jars. Empty your drawers. Let your hands run through the piles of forgotten change you've been ignoring. Because buried in that copper river could be the one coin that frees you. The truth is simple. Life-changing discoveries rarely shout. They whisper. They wait for the person who dares to look closer. And the 1979 Lincoln penny is whispering still across decades to anyone wise enough to listen. Right now, this exact coin has been valued at up to $979,000. Nearly $1 million. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket right this second. Imagine a single penny, small enough to slip through your fingers, yet rare enough to command nearly $1 million. And here's the twist. It isn't some ancient relic locked away in a museum. It's a 1980 Lincoln penny, a coin that, on the surface, looks like any other. But hidden inside this year, this minting, is a mystery that could turn loose change into a fortune. Why would a penny from 1980, a decade remembered for disco records, Saturday morning cartoons, and the first whispers of personal computers, be worth a staggering fortune today? The answer lies not in what's on the coin, but in what's missing. Picture this. The United States Mint, an institution built on precision, on trust, on perfection, releasing millions of coins into the world. But in 1980, something slipped. Something critical. A mint mark, Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, was absent on certain coins. And in that tiny, almost invisible absence, an entire hidden treasure was born. To the naked eye, it's just a penny. To a trained collector, it's a glowing signal, a mistake, a secret, a fortune. But here's the danger. These coins have been overlooked, ignored, spent in vending machines, tossed into jars, buried at the back of drawers. Entire fortunes have been lost to carelessness. Someone, somewhere, may have unknowingly paid for a stick of gum with nearly $1 million. And no one noticed. That is the betrayal. That is the tragedy. Now imagine this. An ordinary father, sorting through his late grandfather's coffee cans of coins, the kind of dusty containers we all remember from our childhood homes. One coin slips out, lighter, sharper, different. No mint mark. He sends it to be graded. Days later, the call comes back. His life has just changed forever. The penny he thought was pocket change is suddenly worth more than the house he lives in, more than the car he drives, more than years of labor could ever earn him. This isn't just a coin. It's a doorway to freedom. And the question that should be pounding in your head right now is this: could that doorway already be sitting in your home? Could that little brown disc lying forgotten in a drawer be the key to the future you've been dreaming of? Before you answer, let's step deeper into the shadows of history. In 1980, Philadelphia minted coins without placing their signature P-Mint mark. A deliberate change, yes, but one that created confusion and accidents, especially in circulation. Collectors began to notice anomalies. Pennies with no clear marking. Some were dismissed, some were lost. But a handful survived in pristine condition, untouched, flawless. Those are the coins that, today, command jaw-dropping prices. Not hundreds, not thousands, hundreds of thousands. Near $1 million for one tiny mistake frozen in copper. Here's the part most people miss. Not all 1980 pennies are valuable. That's the trap. Most are worth only a cent. But if you know what to look for, if you can spot the ghost of a mint mark that should never have been missing, you hold a golden ticket in disguise. So how do you tell? First, look just below the date under the 1980. Normally, a mint mark, a D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco would be stamped proudly. On these rare treasures, there is nothing. No letter, just emptiness. The absence is the signal. Then check the condition. scratches, dirt where these steal away value. But clean, crisp surfaces, sharp edges, uncirculated shine, that is where the fortune lies. And here's the haunting part. These coins are not buried in the earth, not locked in museums, not hidden away by the government. They're out there, right now, in wallets, in jars, in purses and piggy banks and dusty boxes shoved in attics. The only question left is, will you find one before it slips back into oblivion? If you've ever dreamed of freedom, of wealth, of stumbling across the one-in-a-million chance that changes everything, this is your moment. Because the 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is real. It exists, and it is worth up to $980,000. Think about that the next time you dump your change on the counter. That sound of pennies clinking together may not just be small change. It might be destiny calling. So go. Look through your drawers. Empty those jars. Because someone will discover the next fortune hiding in plain sight. The only question is, will it be you? Imagine this. You're holding a penny in your hand, something so ordinary you barely notice it. You're about to toss it into a change jar when, wait, something feels off. The date reads 1986, and there's no mint mark. At first glance, nothing extraordinary. But here's the truth most people will never hear. This coin, this unassuming sliver of copper and zinc, has turned lives upside down. It's a ghost of the mint, a coin that was never meant to escape, and today, it's worth a fortune. How could a penny, a single cent, become the kind of discovery that changes everything? To answer that, we have to travel back to a quiet but fateful year, 1986. America was celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty. The mint was producing billions of coins. Everything looked orderly, controlled, precise. But in the shadows of the presses, something slipped. A batch of Lincoln pennies left the mint missing their identity. No mint mark, no fingerprint of where they came from. To most eyes, invisible. To the trained eye, priceless. And here's where it gets stranger. The mint doesn't like mistakes. It buries them, covers them up, pretends they never happened. But a few escaped into circulation, like whispers carried by the wind. Imagine the betrayal. A coin stripped of its mark, released into the world as if nothing was wrong. And now, decades later, those forgotten pennies are the rarest survivors of all. But here's the real question. How many have already slipped through your fingers? How many of us unknowingly spent them on coffee, gas, or a pack of gum, never realizing we were giving away a future house, a lifetime of security, for just 1 cent? Think about it. Somewhere in America, someone is digging through a childhood coin jar right now, not realizing the weight of history sitting in their palm. A coin that could erase debt, send kids to college, even rewrite an entire family's story. And yet, how many more lie abandoned in old dressers, forgotten in dusty piggy banks, buried at the back of glove compartments? The tragedy is, most people will never know what they're holding, until it's too late. So how do you know if you've found the one? Lean closer. Here's the secret. Look at your 1986 Lincoln penny. Right under the date, where you'd normally see a small D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia, there's nothing. A void. A blank space. That emptiness is your signal, your map to treasure. But be careful. Counterfeits exist. Some will try to scrape off the mint mark, hoping to trick you. Don't be fooled. True no mint mark coins from 1986 have a clean, natural strike. The surface flows evenly, untouched by human tampering. If you see scars, scratches, or an unnatural dip, that's not your jackpot. Now picture this. You're holding the coin, heart racing, palms sweating. You know it's real, and you realize this single penny, 1 cent, is valued today at nearly $1 million. That's not a typo. Collectors have paid up to $986,000 for pristine examples. What does that mean for you? It means freedom. It means choice. It means that ordinary pocket change, the kind you've ignored for years, could hold the key to the life you've been chasing. So don't wait. Don't let another day slip by without looking. Check your coins. Check your family's jars, the old shoebox in the closet, the dusty container in the garage. Because the difference between throwing away a penny and uncovering a fortune could be the difference between staying where you are and living the life you've dreamed about. Right now, somewhere in America, someone has this exact coin sitting quietly, forgotten, waiting to be found. The only question is, will it be you? Because the 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $986,000. And it could be resting in your pocket this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out an ordinary penny, and realizing you're holding a secret that the US Mint never wanted you to find. A coin so deceptively plain that nearly everyone has tossed it aside. Yet the truth is, this tiny copper piece could be worth more than a mansion. And the year stamped on its face is 1989. Now, here's the shocking part. Not every 1989 penny is valuable, but a rare few slipped through the mint's hands with a flaw so invisible, so dangerous, that even professional collectors missed it for decades. That mistake is the absence of something so small, most people never even think about it. The mint mark. The mint mark is a tiny letter, a fingerprint of the city where the coin was born. But in 1989, something went wrong. A batch of pennies left the presses with no mint mark at all. To the average person, it looked like nothing, just another coin to spend on gas or gum. But in the world of numismatics, this was a silent alarm. A once-in-a-lifetime treasure disguised as pocket change. Picture this. Somewhere in America, a man in the early 1990s was rolling his spare change into paper sleeves, preparing to cash it all in at the bank. He almost let the rarest penny of his lifetime slip through his fingers. But something about it felt off. He looked closer. No mint mark. His heart raced. He held onto it. Years later, that one coin would be valued higher than his annual salary, higher than his car, even higher than his house. One penny, rewriting his life. Here's the part that should keep you up tonight. How many of us have unknowingly spent one of these? How many of these rare 1989 no-mint mark pennies passed through vending machines, fell between couch cushions, or were traded for a cup of coffee? That thought alone makes every penny you touch feel like a lottery ticket waiting to be scratched. But let's dig deeper. Why is this error so important? In coin collecting, rarity isn't enough. There has to be a story. And this coin has one of the richest stories of all. By 1989, the mint was under pressure. Billions of coins were being struck every year. Quality control was tightening. Mistakes like this weren't supposed to happen anymore. That's why this error is terrifyingly beautiful. It represents one of the last true minting slip-ups before the digital age began locking everything down. It is, in essence, the final breath of human error before perfection took over. Now imagine if one of these coins is in your hands. What would you do? Would you tuck it away, guarding it like a secret weapon for your retirement? Or would you sell it at auction, watching bidders drive the price into six figures as your life changes with a single hammer strike? Let me reset your focus, because here's where you need to pay attention. How do you know if your 1989 penny is one of the legendary no-mint mark treasures? First, flip it over and study the obverse, the head side with Lincoln's portrait. Normally, beneath the date, you'll see a tiny letter, D for Denver, S for San Francisco. But on the rarest ones, there's nothing. Just the year. Clean.
Bara.
As if the mint erased its own fingerprint. That absence is the presence of value. But beware, not every missing mint mark is real. Some are worn down. Others are tampered with by hopeful hands. If the coin looks suspiciously filed or altered, it's worthless. Authentic ones have crisp, sharp edges everywhere else, with only the mint mark missing. That's the hallmark of a true error. So here's your mission. Tonight, go through your change jar, your childhood coin folder, that dusty box in your attic. Don't assume you know what you're looking at. Take every 1989 penny and look at the date. If there's no mint mark, stop everything. Protect it. Get it graded. Because right now, one of these coins is valued at nearly $989,000. A penny that could buy you freedom, erase debt, or give you the life you've been waiting for. Think about it. You've handled thousands of pennies in your lifetime. What if the one that changes everything is already in your house? Check your coins. Check them now. Because somewhere in America, a single 1989 penny with no mint mark is hiding in plain sight. And it could make the next person who finds it unimaginably wealthy. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary that you almost dismiss it, until you realize it holds the power to rewrite your life. Imagine flipping it over, just another copper coin, except something is missing. Something the mint never intended to vanish. And in that tiny absence hides a fortune. This is not folklore, not wishful thinking. Right now, across America, there are 1993 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark. Coins that should have carried a signature, a badge of origin, but instead, they were released into the wild, stripped of identity. And today, they are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the real story, the one almost no one tells, is how this mistake slipped through the cracks in the first place. You see, the mint in 1993 was under pressure. Billions of coins flooding out, machinery grinding day and night. All it took was a single worn die, a forgotten detail, a moment of oversight. The letter P that should have branded its birthplace, gone. Erased. A ghost mark. And suddenly, an error coin slipped into circulation. Now pause and think about that. A single coin, identical to every other penny you've ever touched, except for one haunting omission. And because of that missing mark, collectors will fight for it, bid on it, and drive its price into the stratosphere. But why should you care? Because one of those coins might already be in your home, in a jar on your dresser, in an old wallet, maybe sitting quietly at the bottom of your child's piggy bank. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Most people who've held one of these coins have already spent it. They handed over their fortune for a pack of gum. Imagine that sting. Imagine realizing too late. That's the nightmare. That's why you must look. And here's where the story sharpens into focus. In 2010, a man sorting through his father's dusty shoebox collection came across what looked like nothing. A 1993 penny.
No cine. No laster.
Until his thumb slid across the obverse and his eyes caught it. There was no mint mark. He sold it at auction for a price that could buy him a home. That's not luck. That's awareness. That's knowledge turned into wealth. So what should you be searching for? First, it must be a 1993 Lincoln penny. Look closely on the front, right beneath the date. Normally, you'd see a tiny D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But in this error coin, there's nothing. Just blank space, smooth and clean. That silence is your gold mine. But caution. Not every coin without a mint mark is valuable. In some years, especially earlier ones, no mint mark was the norm. The 1993 is different. In this case, the absence screams rarity. That is the detail that transforms copper into treasure. Hold the coin under light. Study it carefully. Don't rush. You are not just looking for a coin. You are decoding a secret the mint never meant to share. And here is the revelation you cannot ignore. At auction today, a pristine 1993 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has sold for close to $1 million. Think about that number. Think about what it means. One coin, overlooked by millions, carrying the weight of a new life. So ask yourself, how many times have you dismissed a penny? How many times have you let it slip through your fingers as if it had no value? What if the very coin you ignored yesterday could have freed you from debt today? What if the penny sitting in your pocket right now is the one that could buy you the future you've been dreaming of? The only way to know is to look. Because right now, as I speak, there are 1993 no mint mark Lincoln pennies out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. Some will be found by accident. Others will vanish forever. But maybe, just maybe, one of them is already yours. Check your pockets. Check your jars. Check every forgotten drawer. The 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny is worth up to $993,000, and it could be resting in the palm of your hand tonight. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a dull copper penny, and realizing it could change your life forever. A coin so ordinary that millions have passed it by, yet so rare that a single mistake in its making transformed it into a hidden fortune. What if I told you that the 1996 Lincoln penny with the tiny D mint mark could be one of those coins? And what if it's sitting right now in your jar of spare change? Most people don't know this story. They think the penny is dead weight, not even worth bending down to pick up. But in 1996, inside the Denver Mint, something happened. Machines designed to produce billions of flawless coins slipped. Dies wore down, punches struck off-center, and in some cases, small defects escaped unnoticed. Those mistakes turned a handful of ordinary copper-plated zinc pennies into priceless artifacts. A coin worth 1 cent suddenly became worth more than a house, more than years of wages, worth a fortune. Why does this matter? Because the mint never announced it. They buried it in silence. For collectors, it was like a betrayal. The government created the error, but it was the people, ordinary Americans, who held the lottery ticket in their pocket. Imagine that feeling. The very thing you thought was worthless, overlooked, a penny tossed in a drawer, suddenly holds the power to rewrite your life. The story of the 1996 D Lincoln penny isn't just about metal. It's about chance, destiny, and the razor-thin line between ordinary and extraordinary. One man in Colorado stumbled onto such a coin while sorting through pocket change. He didn't even know what he had at first. He thought it was just an odd strike, something off-center. Only later did he realize it was one of the rare mint errors from '96, and suddenly his penny was valued in the hundreds of thousands. That discovery didn't just change his collection, changed his future. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you handed over pennies without looking? How many times have you dismissed the little copper coins clinking at the bottom of your cup holder? What if every single one of them carried a secret? What if one of them, right now, was the key to the financial freedom you've been dreaming of? Here's where the real treasure map begins. The 1996 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark can carry several signs of rarity. Some were struck off-center, creating a crescent-like blank space where the design should have been. Others show doubling, where Lincoln's profile or the date looks ghosted, doubled, almost like an echo carved in metal. Even tiny die cracks, raised lines where no line should be, can transform a coin into a rarity. Each imperfection is a fingerprint of the mint's mistake, and collectors will pay staggering amounts to own them. But here's the danger. Most people miss the details. They spend these coins at face value. They sell them in bulk, thinking they're nothing. And in doing so, they throw away fortunes without ever knowing. That's why you can't just glance at your change. You have to study it like a detective studies a crime scene. Every curve of Lincoln's cheek, every letter in Liberty, every shine and flaw matters. So what should you look for if you're holding a 1996 D penny? First, examine the date and mint mark. Look for doubling, distortions, or anything unusual about the strike. Then study the edges. Misaligned strikes leave clues there. Finally, don't ignore color and texture. A coin that looks slightly off in tone could be an experimental strike, a planchet error, or something that slipped through undetected. Picture this: you find one of these pennies. Your heart pounds. You hold in your palm a coin the world ignored but collectors would fight for. You realize you've been carrying not just a piece of change, but a piece of destiny. And you're no longer just someone hoping for luck. You've become the discoverer of a hidden fortune. This is why I'm telling you right now, do not dismiss your pennies. Do not let them slip through your fingers. Check your jars, your drawers, the pockets of old jeans. Because somewhere out there, right now, is a 1996 D Lincoln penny worth not 1 cent, not $1, but up to $996,000. And the next time someone asks if you have any spare change, you might be holding the answer to your freedom. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary. It feels invisible, copper-colored, light as air. A coin you've tossed into a jar 100 times without thinking twice. But what if I told you, one of those very pennies, a 2013 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, could be the single most important coin you'll ever touch in your lifetime? Think about it. Somewhere in America right now, someone has this coin sitting inside a drawer, a coffee can, or buried under couch cushions. They don't know it yet, but it isn't just worth 1 cent. It's worth more than most people's homes. So how does a coin so small hold a secret this massive? The answer begins in 2013, a year where the US Mint produced billions of pennies. They were supposed to be flawless, identical, a machine's promise of perfection. But perfection, as history shows us, is fragile. Somewhere in that river of copper-plated zinc, something broke. A mint mark vanished. At first glance, you might shrug. So what? No tiny D for Denver, no P for Philadelphia. But in the quiet world of coin collectors, that missing mark is a whisper of rebellion, a crack in the armor of a system that insists mistakes never escape its gates. And when mistakes this rare do slip past, they're not mistakes anymore. They're treasure. A man in Ohio, searching through his late father's old coin jars. He isn't a collector. He isn't even looking for anything valuable. Just a memory, a keepsake. And buried inside? A 2013 penny without a mint mark. He doesn't realize at first what he's holding. Takes weeks before he notices. But when he finally does, that penny pays off his mortgage. Stories like this are what make collectors' hearts race. Because every coin tells two stories. The story printed on its face, and the secret history hidden in its flaws. And this penny tells the story of a once-in-a-lifetime slip in America's minting machinery that turned pocket change into life-changing fortune. Now let me ask you this. When was the last time you checked your change? Not just glanced at it, but studied it. Because here's the truth. These pennies are still out there. And people like you are the only ones who can find them. What exactly do you look for? Start simple. Hold the coin up close. If it's a 2013 Lincoln cent and you don't see a tiny letter under the date, no D, no P, no S, you may be holding one of the rarest modern coins in existence. But don't stop there. Condition matters. The cleaner, the sharper, the more untouched the coin looks, the higher its value climbs. Point one mistake people make: spending it before they even notice. Another, selling it too quickly to the wrong buyer. These coins are so rare that demand skyrockets, and every tiny detail can add or subtract tens of thousands of dollars. And here's the staggering truth. Right now, this very penny, the 2013 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, has reached a market value of $213,000. Let that sink in. A coin you could pull from your pocket today is worth more than many people's life savings, so here's my question for you. Will you let it slip past you, hidden in plain sight? Or will you take a second tonight, right after this video, to go digging through your change, your jars, your forgotten boxes of coins? Because history doesn't announce itself. It hides. And the difference between the person who finds fortune and the one who misses it is whether they chose to look. If you want more secrets like this, real opportunities hiding in your pocket, make sure you're here when the next treasure story drops. Because imagine reaching into your pocket for loose change and discovering a single coin so powerful it could pay off your house, your car, and rewrite your entire future. A penny, yes, a single copper-colored penny that the US Mint never meant for you to find. Most people never notice it. They toss it away, spend it without thought, or let it sit forgotten in a dusty jar. But in 1967, something happened inside the mint that created one of the most elusive treasures in American coinage history. And if you hold one in your hand, it isn't just a penny. It's a ticket to financial freedom. But before I show you how to spot it, you need to understand the secret that almost no one talks about. In 1965, America was in turmoil. Silver was disappearing from circulating coins. The mint was under pressure, desperate to cut costs and meet demand. And in their panic, they made a radical decision. For 3 years, from 1965 through 1967, they removed mint marks entirely. No Denver, no San Francisco, no Philadelphia, just nothing. A nation stripped of its coin identity. Collectors felt betrayed. Imagine building a collection for years, carefully watching for those tiny letters that told the story of where each coin was born. Suddenly erased. It was chaos. And in that chaos, a few extraordinary errors slipped into the world. That's where the 1967 Lincoln penny becomes something else entirely. Think of it this way. A penny that seems ordinary at first glance, brown, worn, a face you've seen 1,000 times. But under the right light, the truth reveals itself. Doubled images on the date, ghost-like impressions of Lincoln's bust, off-center strikes so dramatic they turn a simple coin into a work of unintentional art. Errors born not of design, but of the mint's exhaustion, their rushed presses, their overlooked details, and here's the part no one tells you. One of these rare 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies has already sold for staggering sums. A single collector, who once thought he was simply rolling spare change, cracked open his jar and discovered the coin that changed his life. He didn't just find copper. He found nearly $1 million sitting in plain sight. Now let me ask you something. How many times have you handled pennies without looking? How many times have you dismissed that little coin as worthless, while unknowingly letting a fortune slip through your fingers? I'll tell you exactly what you need to watch for. First, look at the date. The year 1967 should stand bold and clear, with no mint mark beneath it. That's the baseline. But the real treasures are hiding in the details. Check for doubling on the numbers or the letters in Liberty. Check for strikes that seem shifted, like Lincoln's portrait is leaning away from its frame. Even a slight misalignment can transform a 1-cent coin into something worth hundreds of thousands. Condition matters too. A coin with its original shine, untouched by time, can multiply its value beyond imagination. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Just recognize it for what it is. A survivor of one of the mint's strangest chapters, a secret encoded in copper. And here's the thought that keeps me up at night. How many of these coins are still out there, buried in drawers, tucked inside coffee cans, lying forgotten in the hands of people who have no idea what they own? Right now, a genuine 1967 Lincoln penny with the right error has been valued at up to $985,000. That's not a typo. That's nearly $1 million. Hiding in plain sight. Have you checked your change lately? Because the next hand to uncover one of these life-changing pennies could be yours. Imagine holding a single penny that looks like every other coin in your pocket. You toss it into a jar, maybe it slides beneath your car seat. Forgotten. But what if I told you one ordinary-looking penny from 2006 could carry a secret so valuable, it could rewrite your financial story forever? This is not a rumor. This is not folklore. There is a real coin, minted in Denver in 2006, that hides a truth most people have never been told. And if you're watching this right now, you're about to learn the secret before the rest of the world catches on. So here's the question. Would you even recognize it if it was already in your hands? The story begins in 2006, a year the US Mint was cranking out billions of Lincoln cents. Pennies were everywhere, piling up in cash registers, scattered across sidewalks, rattling around in coffee cans. And because there were so many, nobody paid attention. Nobody thought one of them could be different. But difference hides best in the crowd. That year, at the Denver Mint, something went wrong. Tiny flaws, barely visible to the naked eye, slipped into circulation. A misplaced strike here, a doubled image there. A few copper-plated zinc blanks caught errors the machines weren't meant to produce. And while the Mint quietly tried to move on, collectors began to whisper. Imagine being one of the first to spot it. You're counting change for a soda, and suddenly you notice something odd about the coin in your palm. It feels like nothing, until you realize you're holding what most people will never even notice. A 2006 Lincoln penny with a flaw that transforms a single cent into a life-changing treasure. And here's the twist that no one wants to talk about. These pennies are still out there. They were never recalled, never destroyed. They sit in drawers, coin jars, forgotten piggy banks across America, waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice. What if one of them is waiting in your house right now? Collectors have paid staggering amounts for the right version of this coin. Stories circulate of ordinary people stumbling onto one and suddenly holding something worth more than their car, their house payment, even their yearly salary. This is not just metal. This is a ticket into a different life. But how do you know if you've got the right one? Here's what separates treasure from spare change. Look first at the mint mark, the tiny D stamped under the year. That's Denver. Next, examine the lettering. Any doubling, distortion, or unusual thickness could signal an error. Then, look for anomalies in the plating, cracks, missing details, or ghost-like impressions. These are not flaws to fear. These are signatures of rarity. And here's the part most people get wrong. They rush to sell it, hand it over to a dealer for a fraction of its true worth, or worse, they spend it never knowing what they had. Do not make that mistake. Verify, grade, protect. Only then can you realize its full value. Because right now, in today's market, the right 2006 D Lincoln Penny has sold for up to $206,000. Yes, a single cent, multiplied into the kind of money that could change the course of your life. So here's your moment. Don't let this story end as just another tale you listened to and forgot. Tonight, go through your coins. Check the pennies that seem too common to matter. Search the jars, the drawers, the pockets of old jackets. Because someone in America is going to find one of these life-changing coins. And the only question left is, will it be you?